Hello and welcome to episode 17 of our Timberborn Waterbeavers Update 5 playthrough here in Cycle 17, Day 16, start of a 6-day bad tide. Last time we continued expanding upstairs, so to speak, right here with some additional farming, fixed a couple other things with kimchi production, and additionally did some work down here to keep our trees safe when the next bad tide comes, which is now. So what we're going to see happen is, of course, all of this is going to turn that nasty red sludge, come down here and kill all these lotuses and rice paddies and everything, and there's not really anything we can do about that, at least not right now. So fortunately we're able to get a decent harvest of lotuses last episode. We've got a pretty good bit stored up as far as the different components and the unplucked ones also, so not really anything to worry about there. Rice is going to continue to be a problem until we can have somewhere else to grow it, which brings me to the next thing that I was going to discuss, and that is building a lake, an artificial reservoir for either pumping or getting the rice paddies, and ideally, I always want to call them lilies, the lotuses up here. We got a couple different options. We talked about this one last time, this being a very good possibility for us to get to, but the main problem is this little crevice right here is going to be very hard to fill up without having a whole lot of nonsense happen. So a couple of you posted some good ideas in the comments, including this space right here. Came up a couple times. This would be great. The only problem is I don't have ladders yet, so it would be a little involved to actually get up here. We would have to build a crazy staircase and use a lot of dynamite. Or we just have them commit to a super long route of going up these stairs and then over here, which, well, we already have this bridged, wouldn't really be that hard, and then all we would have to do is come over here and put some structures in that would block flow of water out of the map, and this would be a very good, easy way to grow some rice. And since that's only something that grows, once every 8 days, it wouldn't be that bad. We just have to keep on top of it. Other option, of course, is this massive thing over here. A couple of different places, of course. This right here is another one of those regular sources that gets turned into some nasty, but you know how it goes. Got a bunch of different places on this map. This is actually a really well-designed map for this type of play, but it is still really challenging. This would even be a good spot over here if we could, actually get up here. It's pretty deep, depending on how you want to play with stuff in here. We have these blockages here. I actually don't know if these go anywhere. That might just be decoration, which is fine. That still looks cool. But I'm thinking the easiest way to start would be to have something up here. Even though this, I think, is a better long-term goal to get stuff set up in, it's going to take some time to get there. Now we're going to have ladders, or I'm going to have to commit to having a lot of these pit and ladder lodges, and that's going to make our population super, super high, and I don't think we want to mess with that at this exact moment in time. So, to that end, I'm going to go ahead and say, let's go ahead and work on getting this taken care of here. So, of course, actually getting into the lake is going to require a path, and until I have some other better way of getting up here, this is pretty much the only way we're going to be able to do this. So we're going to have stuff cleared out. I'm not worried about saving the trees. We have so many trees. We're farming and everything. So I will just go ahead and have it get rid of all this. And then, since there are some growing in this lake bed, I will go ahead and mark this for cutting. And we'll be able to store those. We just want to make sure that we're taking advantage of the opportunities presented to us, but not necessarily building everything around them, because that can turn into a wild goose chase very, very quickly. I just think it's nice to have strategic reserves of logs elsewhere on the map. So, of course, we'll have to have stairs, which we could either put here, or probably better to come in the middle of the thing, maybe right about here. I just have to decide how the different things are going to get put in here. Obviously, for rice, this is a single depth, so no lotuses allowed here, but for rice, probably, honestly, would be fine with a couple farmhouses, which we know we can easily place right here. We'll just get we'll get all of our stuff brought out in due time. Put a couple of those lumberjack flags up here and just call it a day. Nice and easy thing. But it's, wow, they were actually pretty fast taking care of that. That's good. So that's going to be kind of a long-term project. Hopefully by the end of the episode we can get that going. But you might be saying, that doesn't solve the problem of how are you going to get water in there? And that, friends, is a question that we're either going to answer with the Lido and the fluid dump, or the fun option with the water cannon. This is not something we used in the other playthrough because I never really got around to it, but this is basically just a building that shoots water from a source that it pulls from into somewhere else. We got 3 different angles. We got 70 degrees, 45 degrees, and 30 degrees. You see that red line with that flag on top? That is where the water coming out of this will shoot. So 45, you can see, considerably increases the distance that it will travel. And if we place it down here, you're going to see, I don't know if it's going to have the right view for me to actually show you how this works. But I believe it has a height limitation. So if I put this down here, yeah, it's not going to show up anywhere that I can actually, you know, use this. Where is my... Maybe it's not going to show up at all. Okay, I guess it can't go... It can't go lower. Oh, no, there it is. It was just buried. The 30 degree obviously is going to be further as well. So for where we are now, the only way we could use a water cannon is if we came up to this area here, but it would have to be, the way this is set out, it would have to be, man, none of these want to actually go, huh? Well, also this is poison water, so we'd have to wait until the end of the bad tide anyway. But I really don't see a viable way. It's close. It's close, but I don't see a viable way to actually use this, because you can see that is each time just outside the boundaries of where we're going to be able to reach anything. There is not one space, not one, where it's actually going to let us build this, which is unfortunate. But that does mean that we're going to have to unlock the Lido and the fluid dump, which is something we wanted to do anyway, because the Lido does serve other purposes. It fulfills the wet fur need, and it fulfills the fun, one of the fun categories. So that's not inherently a bad thing to build that. It's just, you know, that's 200 science that we could put towards something else, and maybe should, but we really need to make sure we have stable rice coming in. And it's obviously not going to happen when there's, you know, all this pollution stuff going on. But at the very least, we don't have a flood because we kind of solved our problems here. We're still able to use all of this stuff. We're making more power than we're using. This is currently making another anvil, so we can continue having additional factories and so on and so forth. And we still, despite all of our best efforts, are not able to get enough coal fast enough. We need to upgrade mines. So we either are going to have to build another primitive mine. We already have 3. 2 are getting coal, and this one's getting the salt. We either have to build a 4th and a 3rd for coal, or we have, get it, mine, or we have to pay 250 science to unlock the medium mine, which is going to allow us to employ 10 beavers. But that is, of course, a little more involved, and I showed you guys last time the billboard for the medium mine construction, which I guess we can go look at again. But it shows you where the different dynamites have to go at each level, so you can put the staircase in place. We did that last time we played Waterbeavers. We ended up having a couple of those, and that's good. But that's going to be something we have to find a good place for, and then dedicate a bunch of time to figuring that out, as well as making more explosives. We don't currently have enough, unless, of course, we find a pre-existing hole that is at least partially in the shape that we need, and we can do something else about it. Obviously, the stuff that comes out of the medium mine is the same as what comes out of the small mine, with the addition of the quartz, and we can also get water. So quartz is going to be useful later on when we get into some of these more advanced buildings. Water is water. It shouldn't really have to tell you that. But there's plenty of opportunities for us to use this. Maybe at some point in the near future. But for right now, I think our priorities are going to be better suited elsewhere. So this is all connected now. Just need to go ahead and get... I'll just go ahead and get rid of those two, get this going. And then we have to decide what's going to be blocking this. Now we have options to build either dams, which, you know, dams are good, but they don't block the full height of the water. They will only block, what, 2/3 of it? It was like 0.66 or something. So we could build this very easily and it would be perfectly fine. But I'm thinking what we're going to want is we're going to want actual buildings here because they're going to block completely. We can use these tall, narrow lodges if we want to have beavers actually living up here. But that's also kind of what the farmhouse is. Well, it's not kind of what the farmhouse is for. It's absolutely what the farmhouse is for. So instead, I want to kind of take a look at some of these other buildings that aren't necessarily a house or aren't primarily a house that we're going to have some sort of watertight ability. Like a bunch of this stuff. And of course, they still, you know, house beavers, but they also serve, excuse me, another purpose. And while we don't have a harvester's office up here, we could use one, say, over in this area. Would not be a bad. And of course, we have stuff over here to get to eventually as well. But there's different stuff we could do depending on how we want to use different things. And of course, we can't just build regular dams, regular houses. This one right here, this regular lodge, honestly is probably a smart thing to do because it has a 2x2 footprint and it only has 3 inhabitants. So we could get out of here only really having maybe 9 extra beavers or space for 9 extra beavers. But we also get haulers out of that, which are going to be important when we're dealing with the production of different foodstuffs. So, yeah, and we don't have a shortage of beavers to work. We just have a shortage of jobs for them to do because we haven't gotten into the late game stuff quite so much yet. I guess I can go ahead and turn this into turbo mode. We've already been talking for almost 15 minutes, at least on the recording, and we're only like a day and a half into the drought. But these other industrial buildings, once we get into them, are going to have a lot of workers. Like the mines, for example, these aren't residences, so we're not adding beavers, but they employ 10 apiece. So if we had, for example, a spot up here that would be maybe smart to put one of those medium mines, that could be a great way to use all these extra beavers, but we don't. Right now we're just trying to figure out how we're going to make stuff happen up here. There's all sorts of different options that we've got, and we don't have to be committed to the same thing every time. It's just, I want to think about stuff, be a little bit more intentional. Of course, all these, you know, have pretty much 3 inhabitants. Anything else that actually makes stuff isn't some sort of a house is obviously going to be huge. Or you have to go to something like a factory that, like, well, why would you build this? Even though, like, it has a great ratio of footprint to inhabitants, but it's expensive and it needs power. And why would you build that if you can't use it? So I think, at least for right now, the smart thing to be doing would be to either build a pass-through lodge or one of these regular lodges. I don't know if it qualifies as quote-unquote cheating if you build a pass-through lodge and don't intend to pass through it, but it does have a very good ratio of space to accommodation, for our purposes at least, holding only 3 inhabitants and taking up 6 squares. We can also build one of these things, but that's still 6 beavers. I'm thinking, at least for right now, that would make sense for us to put in maybe one of these and then something right here, with the idea that maybe in the future we can actually have a bridge go across here and then get over to this area and, you know, actually make use of the space and not just say, oh, I'm going to build this because it's got a good ratio of space to waste. And like, well, no, that's... there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but I feel like that's not necessarily in the spirit of the game, regardless of whether or not it's quote-unquote cheating or whatever. So I do think we should try to eventually plan to make a use of that. But right here is going to be where I'm putting this. We have so much wood. I'm not going to spend any more time on these 3 at least. I'll get these 3 out of here, assuming they can reach it, which they cannot. Wow, they can't reach any of this. Okay. Well. These paths won't stay here, but I will get these out of here. And then we'll put in the pass-through lodge right here, and then the other one next to that. And that should, operative term should, end up being good. We have almost 400 science. I'm going to go ahead and get the Lido unlocked. And then we will be able to, of course, once we get everything out of here, we'll be able to place this. Actually, right here would be a perfect spot for it. We just have to move the path just a touch. Yeah, I think that's going to work out nice. Get this set off like so. Move that right there, and then you know how it works. You know how it works. We got all sorts of different stuff that we magically find out is going to be blocking the way, and then we have to do some sort of gymnastics to get around it. But that'll go there. Flip that guy right there. Actually, you know what? We can actually justify having a pass-through lodge because I can just do that. And then they can walk through the lodge to get to this other one, and now we're not cheating. Because we're actually using the pass-through lodge as a pass-through. There's much rejoicing. Yay. I will keep this straight path, though, so we minimize the amount of space taken up. Would be nice. Alright, so that's going to be there. Already beavers moving in. We will need to have storage for water and other stuff up here. I'm not going to be pumping out of this, but we do need to have storage for water for the beavers to drink and also for the Lido to dump. So I'm going to put that. I think it just makes sense. I'm not going to wait. We're all a little too old to be sitting here waiting our entire lives. So I will have those removed. But the rest of these can get taken up normally, because that can, the trees can be cut down while everything is flooded. I think that's going to be fine. But if we put the Lido right here, look at these guys working. They're getting stuff done. So that's going to be done. Let's just check real quick where the doorway. Ah, it's right here. Okay, good. So I'm going to place right here. That's going to be for water. And then this will get filled up. And then after that, they can just go zoop right across to fill up the Lido, and problem solved. I just have to move this pile around, put a little jog here. They'll get rid of everything else eventually, once we get it taken out, and that'll be fine. Everything here is progressing to some degree. How would you like to live on the side of a cliff like this? I don't know, I think it's kind of cool. Just do a cursory check of everything else. Seems like it's doing okay. Food, I'm so glad this works. It was going to be so much of a problem if it didn't. All of our crops, with the exception of these right here, are growing perfectly fine. Everything's looking good, folks. Don't really see any complaints. This anvil is actually done, so it can't make another one. Not like it could in this moment anyway. But I'm going to go ahead, since we are already here. I'll just go ahead and put in a glorious storage for the anvil. And then I will have this start making maybe metal blocks. Yeah, that seems like a much better thing to be doing, is making metal blocks. Just so we can get that going. We can hold up to 20. We're not going to be able to make 20, I don't think. But if we have those ready to go, by the time we unlock ladders, we'll be able to use them. Because remember, ladders in this game take 4 blocks of metal to get built. It's a deliberately expensive item, but we're definitely going to have some. So this can just stay as it is for now. Nope. Somebody got eaten by a grue. That's a little unfortunate. Oh, wait. How can they not reach this? It seems like that was well within reach, but whatever. These guys do have the reach to do that, so that's fine. Prioritized by haulers, get that filled up. Obviously, it's not going to get filled up immediately unless I have that set to obtain goods, which we now do. I want someone to come get this out of here so I can put this Lido in here. Man, we've been waiting. We're suffering. If that can even be described as such. Yeah, that water here is going to be pretty important. The beavers in here... Oh, so this guy's infected, so poor Todd. But we're going to have something for them to eat as well. I'm not going to unlock medium warehouses right now, but we can put, at least for right now, we can put a crappy warehouse in. Our most abundant food right now is cabbages, which probably we should be using to make other stuff, so I'm not going to bring those up here. Pumpkin chips. Pumpkin chips are a nice food to have. We just have to be able to make more of them. But we'll do that. This is filling up nicely, and now I can come in and get the... click on the right thing, first of all. And then the fluid dump in this is a part of the Lido. That's the only place you can put it, and it goes right here. So that's how we're going to fill our little lake up. And then, of course, once the water's actually in and the trees are gone, we'll have to have farmhouses, which will go here. And you can't flip these because they have additions that go on the top, so we unfortunately can't take care of that. But as long as this can reach everything inside, I don't think we care. But this will become irrigated, and we can grow other stuff up top. We just can't plant pumpkins, and we can't plant lilies or anything with this. But we're not growing lilies or pumpkins up here anyways. Probably, honestly, probably going to make sense for it to be cabbages. Maybe green peas, depending on how everything else goes. But here we go. Water is going in. So I will, yeah, I'll just go ahead. Pop these two right here. And pop that assistant farmer on top. And look at us go. Look at us go, man. We're making it work. Of course, the pumpkin chips are getting eaten just about as fast as they can get put in. At least I think that's what's happening there. There we go. This is going to take a long time to fill up. And we definitely don't want to be taking all of our water out during a drought or a bad tide. But fortunately for us, the new cycle has begun. And everything's going to be swimming in good water here very, very shortly. Now, in terms of metal, we have 14. So this is about to be pretty much done here. We don't want to use all of our scrap metal. But we do want to have a little bit of metal here at the very least. Other stuff that we could be doing with our factory. I've got timber trees up on the second monitor here, so that's where my cursor went. Very helpful resource. I never end up having it up until I remember, and then, oh, my phone's on my bed charging, and I can't actually look at anything right now because I'm in the game. But I pull it up ahead of time. So there's all sorts of different stuff we can do with the factory, and looking at the recipes and everything here, I don't think we really need to be changing anything. At least not yet. I do want to keep making metal blocks, but eventually there's going to come a time where we have to make more laboratory glassware. Of course, I'll pull it up here so I can actually show it to you. But the laboratory glassware takes quartz and methane, which we don't have yet. So that's obviously something we have to have the large mine for, and then we have to be able to make the methane with all that other fun stuff. So while that's something we're going to need soon, it's not something we can currently do. And as you can see, none of the rest of these recipes are really viable, with the exception of doing the metal or making more anvils. But at this exact moment in time, we don't need more anvils. So I'm kind of inclined to just have this keep doing metal blocks. So that is what we will be doing, is just putting in a couple more of these, making anvils, metal blocks, not anvils. How are we looking up here? We still got water coming out. Yep, that's the way the cookie crumbles. This is going to take a very long time to get filled up, but we can start planting rice as long as this doesn't dry up. So that is what we will be doing, and they'll do whatever they can when they can. That's the way it works. But there is only so much that can happen. We need to make sure somebody's in the fluid dump, so we'll prioritize that. And then that will continue getting stuff done. There's no available workers because now everyone is back at work. because we have a lot of contaminated beavers. So now we're on the opposite side of that unemployment swing, remember? Just takes time. So what I'm going to do is, okay, these were already not having any workers in them. I'm going to prioritize these farmhouse workers so they can start planting the rice. This doesn't need to all be paths. We just need to be able to actually get these trees out of here at some point. So we'll keep that accessible. Yep, see, there they go. And this, ideally, should never, ever have to be replanted. Assuming this continues spreading, which it should. It's not going to be full for quite some time, and we're going to rely on the hauler beavers to bring stuff up here. But that's what these guys do if they're not, you know, infected, which is a completely different story entirely. But it looks like lotuses are getting replanted. Our rice is looking pretty good. 60 infected beavers. Oh, we have 35 more that are unwell. We need to get to the beaver washing machine soon. The only problem is, of course, it requires a blueprint that we can't make yet. All this other stuff that we can, but it's going to be a while. I've been told this machine is hilarious. I know we looked at it before, and I said, oh, this is just the carousel with a little fun thing attached to it, but it's going to be it's going to be something, folks. We're gonna have a good time with that. Yeah. So the way things are looking now, it looks like the metal blocks are pretty much all that we can make is either made, or we have these guys doing something else. So I'm actually going to deprioritize the entire factory so they don't have to do anything right now. Send those guys somewhere else because we do have a shortage of workers because everybody's infected. But so far, everything else is starting to look pretty good. I do need to get the rest of these trees out, so I'll get these guys going a little bit more. And we'll see what we can get ourselves up to. Alright, other things that were brought up in the comments that I haven't addressed yet is this area right here. While it does have a tapper shack, it doesn't have anybody harvesting the lemons or the blueberries. And we're always low on blueberries. So we got some options. We can either put in a harvester's office, which would be another one of these house-type buildings that we could pretty reasonably put almost anywhere and still have good range. Like if I did that right here, they could reach just about everything down here. And, you know, I kind of think this would be best to put it about right here. So that's what I'll do. But this, of course, is going to house beavers. It is a house, after all. But they can gather the lemons, they can gather the berries, and then all that other fun stuff. And there's plenty of lemons and plenty of berries to be harvested here. We can also, at some point, replant the berries when we, you know, actually get there. Because these all did die from the bad water contamination. But right here, we do have a decent crop, and of course, the lemon trees are continuing to expand. We want to make sure we can take advantage of those. So for now, these guys, whenever, you know, they're actually working here, will harvest all of these things, and we, of course, have another one up here, a gatherer flag, taking care of all of these things. For this exact moment right now, I'm not really worried about this, but I did want to make sure we address that because that is something you guys brought up. Want to make sure we're keeping track of all of that. It's actually a couple of you brought that up at some point previously. Yeah, like I said, this is going to take a while to get this actually completely filled up enough where this can be used recreationally and where we're not going to be in danger of this completely drying out. But I think we're beating the evaporation for right now. So that's good. That's good progress. We can also plant additional things, like I was saying, up here, and I think long term it probably makes the most sense to be planting the green peas up here. So I will fill the space immediately around the farmhouse with the green peas, get those planted. We'll obviously keep expanding this as we do, but we want to be able to have stuff that we can use and doesn't really need that much maintenance. This will never, unless I do something stupid and click this button right here, this will never have bad water coming out of it, so we won't have to worry about it. The green peas do take 10 days to grow, but the rice takes 8, so there really shouldn't be that much overlap, and I think we can get away with having a smaller staff of farmers if we have longer growing crops versus something like cabbage that takes 5 days, or sunflowers that take 6 days or whatever. So we'll just keep on keeping on like we always do. Make sure stuff's marked for cutting so it can actually be cut. And then as space opens up, of course, keep planting things. So we can leave that alone for a little bit of time. Of course, the contamination continues. As one does, food continues to grow as well. We've got nice water storage. We can hold like 5,600 water right now, which is good. We need to keep building additional tanks for all of this. And of course, we have these beavers up here that don't actually have anywhere to drink from, except this tiny thing right here. And that's not ideal. So I'm going to set that to obtain from others. So this is going to be more full than it currently is. Everything else is just doing what it can be doing. Now, other things that have been addressed as concerns in the comments include the dirty beavers bit. I think right now we're okay as far as keeping the beavers clean. Where's the tank showers? Oh, okay, that's over here. These do use quite a bit of water, but you're never going to have to worry about having bad water in there. And honestly, we have enough water at this point where I don't think we need to be super concerned. But we're far enough in the cycles now that if we were to get a very long drought, we definitely would have cause for concern. So we need to be pumping pretty much continuously and have as many opportunities as possible to get more water storage built. So this plucked lotus storage is going to go away. And in its place, I'm going to build another tank. Just right here. Honestly, I would love to have 10,000 water. Because that would be enough for a considerable length of drought that we may or may not be able to get. But we are also using a lot of the water for industrial purposes and all this other fun stuff, so we don't really need to be worrying about it that much. We also need to be making progress toward the ENS at some point because there's a lot of research we want to do that we can't quite yet. And there's other things that are locked behind different blueprints and degrees and all that other fun stuff. So once we're a little bit more stabilized, we don't have almost 80 contaminated beavers, we'll be doing good on that. But there is one more thing on the subject of contaminated beavers. If we can't prevent them from getting contaminated, we can at least try to do something to stave off the effects, and that's what the distillery can help us with. This right here, pollution resistance factor. I'm going to show you what this looks like now because we're not making any sake currently. We take our brain-stimulating mushrooms, logs, and water, and we get pollution resistance factor. And that's going to help the beavers not get infected. There's some sort of mechanic behind it. I don't fully understand it, but I've been told in the comments by those, including the mod creator, that this is a good thing to do. So I think for right now, we're going to switch this over because all we're using the half-fermented sake for is for making, when we were making the brain-boosting salts, I'm 90% sure that's what that was for. So we need to be doing some other stuff. And of course, we have all these other things to take care of. I want to have another alchemist, but remember what I said earlier in the episode was that we can't until we have more laboratory glassware, which we make in the factory, but we have to have quartz, which we don't have. And that's going to take some time. So for now, having pollution resistance factor available to the beavers is going to help us out a little bit. We just have to start making enough. And we have enough of these mushrooms, or we did at some point, for that to make sense. We used most of them to make stuff for the library to consume. And I think we're going to need to increase our production on those. But let's also not forget, now that we have these green peas and we actually have a decent bit of brain-boosting salts, we can use the efficient science recipe. It's just one of those things, do we want to, or is it wise? Because if we, change this over to brain-boosting salts, then we have to have the strong alcohol, which, well, currently we do have. But there's a balancing act, right? Because the rice gets used to make sake. We don't have rice right now because it's ran out. If we stop using the rice to make sake, then we can actually have rice to make food. which I think is a little bit more important than making the brain boosting salts and running this a little bit faster. We're just, with the limited resources we have to make the most of what we've got. So I'm going to put this back on tar so we can continue making all that fun. We'll leave that alone for the time being. How are we looking here? Okay, they still haven't cut any of these trees down. I think that's probably because we just have this one beaver right here. Oh, do I actually have a spot I can plant more rice? I do. One spot. Well, it's got to count for something, right? All these guys are still infected. They're gonna learn, though. Wow, see, this is like immediately full. We needed to do this a long time ago. So we can actually start reclaiming some of this space now that we have these platforms. And we can have a whole lot more in the way of storage. So I think that's what we're going to do. I will just pop one of these guys right here, get rid of this crappy platform so we can pick those logs up. But we actually don't have any space for those to go. So that means that I've got to build more log storage. See, this is going to use some log storage here. Why not? Why not? Let's just make good use of this space. Put a little bit more log storage in. And then I think this guy right here that we were using to make the screw press axles, we can unpause and have make... actually, no, we don't need the sawdust. I guess I could have this make screw press axles. We need to be consuming logs because we're actually getting a decent number of them now. But I did want to avoid waste if at all possible. So that goes there. And then this right here can be for, of course, more water. Now our capacity is up to almost 6,000. This will push it over. This scaffolding storage doesn't really need to be in this exact spot. But for right now, it's probably fine. We got pit tanks here. Got a bunch of other spaces where pit tanks would make sense. There's no water storage in this exact spot, but we probably could get there if we really, really felt like it. Oh, we actually have... all of our scavenging is done here. We have to be able to get up here to get to the rest of this. I'm not really that worried about it. I don't think it's that big of an issue. We have used all of our scrap metal, but we haven't gotten to the point where we need to have any more right now. You know what? I'll just do it anyway. It's fine. This will be able to get to most of this up top. We can always get rid of the stairs later. But I do think it's important to have some sort of well, anything up here. We'll just let this one do it by themselves. Everything else is looking good. We could probably plant some more trees. We've got our chestnuts that are fully grown here, actually. And I don't have... I thought I had a gatherer's flag. Okay. This... yeah, we've been just doing this without a gatherer's flag. Okay. If we built a harvester's office, we can also do a cottage, one of these larger buildings that, of course, is going to have, actually, it's got fewer workers, but it supports upgrades because we have all these things that can go on top of the triangle buildings, whereas this one's just kind of flat like that. I think for right now, I think this is fine. We'll just pop this guy in here. We can have beavers working to harvest. And if this ends up being a bad idea, I can just delete it. It's not that big of a deal. But we do want to be able to harvest these chestnuts. We want to be able to actually use them. We have 250 some in storage. And I did get a hint that there's going to be an update to this mod soon that's going to allow the use of chestnuts to make a new food item. But currently I don't have that because that update has not come out yet. But we're gonna make sure to take a look at that when we get there. Contaminated beavers slowly ticking down. We got 65 now. Our storage here is actually looking pretty good. Filled with these nenifars. We've got chestnuts. Of course, this is where those are stored. Pumpkin chips, not quite yet because we're missing the other ingredients for those, which would be the sunflower oil and the salt. But we have the salt. Actually, no, we don't. We've been using all the salts. We need some more. We need some more mines. Need some more mines. I got a couple comments talking about places to put new mines. But the way this is set up, I would have to move these mushroom growers to get access to this little cliff face here. I'm pretty sure that will work. But I don't know if I have another great spot to put any of these. We probably honestly need more of those to begin with. We've got these chestnut trees here. Right now we just have, yeah, this one gatherer flag. We got Joe here getting chestnuts all by himself. So maybe that's something we look at later. Pollution resistance factor is continuing to be consumed. I don't know if that's something we want the beavers to be consuming at this exact moment in time. But we'll see. See, I'm waiting now to click on one of these that actually has the resistance factor. But there's so much. What in the world is that? Okay, that's a French word that wasn't translated yet. How is the rest of this looking? Have we made any more? No? Good. Okay, I didn't want them in here anyway, but that's fine. We've got our metal blocks. Again, later on, that's going to be something we can use to make regular gravity batteries. 21 apiece. But for right now, once we have enough coal to actually do any of this, which we do, but it seems like we're lacking something in here. Oh, it's the scrap metal. Duh. I knew there was a reason we didn't have that. Well, how's this looking? Nobody's working here. Okay. Ryan Trask gonna come up here and get us some scrap metal so we can make fasteners, because I kind of need those. I should have paid a little bit more attention to that, but how are we looking here? How much water is actually in this? Okay, we're getting somewhere. It looks kind of funny when you like zoom into the ground. Let's see, 64% for the lotuses. Still not deep enough for anybody to swim here, but we're working our way there, folks. Slow and steady, and I have one more space to plant in here so far. We're getting there. We will get there. Just need these beavers to, you know, not be contaminated. Nobody's working here yet because there's no real bodies available. The mushrooms are being consumed to make the pollution resistance factor. So that's something that's going to have to be, I guess, slowly replenished as they're able to make it up here. A couple comments about the Center of Science. Yeah, the small bad water pump has to be a building that gets actually built in the bad water, and then have to have some sort of barrier or other clever arrangement so you can't actually, you know, get infected. And then you have this building as well. It kind of just flows through it. But for right now, the bucketing seems to be working just fine. We have plenty of bad water. The issue is getting the mushroom grower, well, going. We need to have a couple more of those, but it is what it is. We got plenty to worry about, but the rice is coming back in, which is exciting. That's good for down here. Unfortunately, there's no beavers actually working here because there's no room for them, or there's no beavers to put in the rooms, rather. I'll get there. The tools, are we out of tools? We shouldn't be out of tools. Alright, so the fasteners, I'm going to switch this over to tools. Just because we just ran out of those and I didn't remember that we needed them. But this here, I believe, is still in range. Yes, it is. Very good. Of course, these guys can harvest all of this now that I have stairs here and here. Thanks to those of you who comment on these tiny little missing things, by the way. Even if I fix it later on in the episode, if you catch it, leave a comment. Because when I go back and read this stuff before I record next, it helps remind me of what I have and have not done and common mistakes I might make. It's very helpful. I very, very, very much appreciate it. And we got rice here ready to go too. So it looks like they're going to be grabbing this whenever they're working. Then of course, as the different things get pulled out and replanted, we'll be able to continue doing what we can. Just takes time. Just gotta let it go. But now there's no water here. Now it should be rectified soon. Hopefully. This is a very, very, very long trek. So I don't blame the haulers for taking a long time to do this. It's just one of those things that it takes a long time to do it, you know? But if we're not using the rice to make the half-fermented sake, then we should have a much, much better time of, you know, making literally anything else with it, including the rice balls, which we do have a small amount of, less than 100. We're getting the scrap metal back. Looks like we're making tools, which we need to make these other things. So that's good to see here. I feel like a lot of our progress now is kind of kept behind a few small things. Oh, hey, is this deep enough to actually have visitors out? Cool. I don't know that they're really going to be busting down the doors to get over here, but that being accessible is nice. This should be set to... Well, there's nobody working there anyway. But we should be able to, you know, actually make good use of this as time goes by. Plenty of stuff to do. This will reap big benefits, or we will reap big benefits from this, to be specifically correct, in the future, because this doesn't have to be continuously reset. So that's good. I'm glad we got that done. Now, regarding the other blueprints, there are different things we can be researching here. Obviously, the Architect's Lodge has already done most of the stuff that we reasonably can. The Super Fertilizing Irrigation Tower Bath, fancy blueprint. That's a good one. But we can't really make use of that yet. And the Balloon Trader, you know what? I always forget where this is in the menu. The Balloon Traders are cool. But, just the stuff that we have to trade with is not really, Wait, hold on. Scouting balloon. Do we have to have this first? Or is this just a separate recipe you can... I don't remember this being here. I like the little spyglass. That's cool. Folktales, obviously, we know we can get human food. We can get the iron teeth. Well, I guess also whatever the burger, I forget what that one was. But there's all these different things we can get. There's a lot of new things. Amperes. What could that possibly be? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. But the like other white paws, this wasn't an option previously, but it's nice to see that we can get stuff like, say, the brambles if we don't have any, or we just want to get more if we provide them with... Hold on, what's this? Ah, yes, the relics that we get from the deep mines, which I believe are in... they're locked behind something. They were previously... I wanted to just say under the mine thing, but I'd have to go digging to find out where that was. Now we're starting to get somewhere because we're getting the amount of infected beavers down. Obviously, they're consuming this pollution resistance factor about as fast as we can make it, which is what it is. But let's see, haulers. That should help if we prioritize all of these. Hopefully that will expedite that process. Anything else been cut down? I think I just saw... Yeah, we're making progress. Just takes time. We'll get these guys filled in. Looks like we actually do have more of those now. So hopefully the rest of this can get cut down. I can continue planting these green peas, which are continuing to grow. The unconnected building we probably should fix at some point now that I actually do have the platforms. Just got to figure out where I'm going to put those stairs. Because I don't really have... honestly, it would be better as a ladder. I still haven't built this, really? Oh, okay, it's because of the metal fasteners. That's right, we're only making a couple of these. Okay, so we got a drought. We got a drought coming in 3 days. So we're going to have to prepare for that, which means, yes, those of you who have been faithfully commenting, don't forget to put the dam back in before the drought pops up. I haven't forgotten you. So here's what we're going to have to do. We're obviously going to keep these pumping as long as we can, but since this is a drought and since most of our pumping is happening on this river here, well, I guess first of all we should see how long the drought is. And it's actually not a death sentence that this has to stay irrigated. The only problem is resetting the rice is very annoying. So I would like to have as much water stored up as we possibly can so I can shut these off or deprioritize them enough or whatever. So we will need to have a structure here still no matter what. The problem now is I don't remember where the stair... Okay, the stairs are here. So we will actually need to have these here. Those are connected. Good. I'm going to have this go probably all the way up here. I'm going to put in not a dam because that's only going to hold 2/3 of a block of water. I'm going to put in the full-size house. That's right. We're doing it again. They're going to be all over the place. I will put a staircase here just so we can, you know, actually get down there easier. But at the very end of this, we can hold as much water as we can. I will put a little house here that we will end up deleting. I know that's not the right way to do it. It's fine. If I'm not using it as a dam without also using it as a house, it's permissible. That's what they told me at least. So, again, we could and probably should put this here. But for the purposes of a drought, since we have the ability to actually do it, I can just put in one of these guys. So that is going to be what I end up doing. We'll just have to make sure that this doesn't actually end up getting built first. We got 2 days to get this done. The question is going to be whether or not they can actually get it done in that time, and will I look like a complete idiot? But I am going to keep this up for the time being. Now we have 5,200 water, which is a great amount to have. We have just shy of 300 beavers, which means each day will consume about 560, 570 in terms of water just for the beavers, which in normal mode, the longest drought you can possibly get is 9 days. So we know we're going to be good with 5,000 water, but we're also consuming it for industrial processes, so we don't want to get ourselves too dependent on that. And again, we'll be okay for 9 days. If the beavers are a little thirsty at the end, it's not the end of the world. It's going to be fine. But we do want to keep an eye on it. So here we go. We got metal fasteners. Oh. That's going to be fun. We got 1.6 a day. These take an hour to make. And the metal fasteners, I think, are also required for this tank here. Oh, so we might actually be kind of up against the 8-ball here. I guess we'll find out. So they are certainly going to be... okay, let's pause. I've had most of this episode going in triple speed. After the initial bit here, I got 6 scrap metal. Let's take a second to think about this. Got 6 scrap metal right now. Each unit of the metal fasteners takes 1, so we can make 6. I need to have 14 in order to make the pass-through house and also this tank. Actually, no. I need to have 13 because we already had the one there. So we need... Well, we also need the coal, but we have coal. This just needs to be prioritized by haulers as well as this. And then I think we'll be okay. This also is going to be good to go. So I think we're going to be fine. I'll just super prioritize this. And I think we're going to be in okay shape. Now let's also not forget that this doesn't have to be immediately built as soon as the drought starts, because there will still be a little bit of water coming through this section. Hopefully, if it's not a long drought, then we won't have to worry about these lotuses drying out. But eventually we're going to have to reckon with some of that. I'm just going to keep my eyes on this as much as I can for the time being. We already have the one fastener, which is good. If they have the supplies, they can make the necessary amount remaining easily in 1 day's work, but we all know how that goes. Looks like... cool. Okay, so we only need 10. Very good. This is kind of a... oh, might actually only need 9. No, never mind. He was going there. And there we go. We got 1 day, the final day left. We'll see what ends up happening here. I think they're wanting to take this path because it might actually be a shortcut compared to this other way they're going. But we'll see what happens here. Kind of cutting it close. This did get built, which is good. We needed to have that capacity. So not going to be upset about that. Alright, so the scrap metal is not a fast process, it seems. But at the very least, we seem to be able to keep it kind of supplied, I think. And the water level's low enough here where I don't think it's going to be a problem if this gets finished a little early. I highly doubt it will be, but we'll see what happens. Remember, all the amount of pumping that's happening here is almost certainly going to cause this to be emptied expeditiously. But it's the thought that counts. And we will be taking as many of these jobs away from the pumps as we possibly can. We just have to be able to get there first. Just a whole bunch of waiting. So we need 4 metal fasteners. I see a couple en route now. Or at least one. It's almost the end of the day, so I am going to extend our work hours. Because remember, it's a drought. It's not a bad tide. It's not the end of the world. But I really am invested in making sure this can actually work. Because it's going to be a bad time otherwise. We just need the 2. As long as I've got enough coming out of here. Yeah, as long as we can make that happen, we'll be good to go. Alright, so that should be 11. The next one is 12. I don't know if he's going to finish building it. No, we're going to have a builder come in. That might actually be this next one here. No, they're going to bed. Okay. Well, if that's the case, good. Just finished. Back to 16 hours. This is going to continue filling up, which is good. And how long of a drought is it? 6 days. Okay. So let's take this out of turbo speed mode now that we're actually in the drought. And we're going to go ahead and start. Because we have these pump upgrades. Nobody actually lives there. So I'm just going to pause those. I don't think anybody lives there. Nope. So those are paused. That solves that problem immediately. The rest of these pumps, I'm going to deprioritize. And then we will manually reprioritize the ones. I'm just going right down the line here. I'm pretty sure it's these 3 that are over there, so we're going to leave those alone. And then I'll check to see if my hunch was correct. But getting these deprioritized should help us out. These 3 are still... So yeah, they're still prioritized. Good. I guessed correctly. So let's hit pause. And let's think of the other buildings that we want them to be working in instead. We've got the library. That's going to consume water to make science, but we do need to make science, so that's an option. We've got Lumberjack's Barn. We can employ the rest of those, or 3 more of those there. That's good. That's good. The factory, they're coming back to, and they can continue making more of those metal blocks, but I'm not necessarily wanting them to make any more of those, so I'm going to instead go to making, let's see, I guess drill bits? No, okay, we actually can't. Oh, well, that would work out okay. They're just not going to be able to make anything, but they can start collecting the scrap metal and the sunflower oil to do those as soon as we have methane. That's something we could actually use. Or if we felt so inclined, we could make those medium cauldrons, which it'll only hold 1 at a time, and we can make 2 more. We're going to want those eventually. And then, of course, solar cells and then gold bars we haven't gotten to yet. So, you know what? Let's actually make medium cauldrons. That seems like that would make more sense. We can turn that back into a normal priority building. We already have workers here. The, which one of these was the cookhouse? Okay, that's already going. That's already going. I don't think... Let's check our different jobs, see what's deprioritized. Probably shouldn't be. Foresters are good. See, most of this stuff is actually fully employed. What a time to have all the beavers, not infected anymore, right? When I don't want them to actually be working. What a concept. It looks like we're, aside from this one that's not even connected, it looks like we're booked pretty solid. Everybody's employed. Which, hooray. Good for me. But not really so. What we'll do instead, because we have the ability to do this, is I'll just pop a bunch of these guys in. And then we'll do the exact same thing over here. So we can have access to all these other bits and pieces. They'll get access to that. And as many of you suggested previously, utilize these flags as convenience. Cruise ships register flags of convenience to dodge taxes. I register flags of convenience to dodge people working in the water pumps. It's all fine. It's good. Well, taxes and labor laws. Really kind of disturbing employment practices if you care to look into that at all, but that's neither here nor there. We are over here scavenging like our lives and our water supply depends on it, because guess what? They both do. So that should take most of our workers, take this out of triple speed now, should take most of our workers out of our water pumps. And yeah, sure did. All right, so that actually worked out really nicely. We have a certain amount of water in here. It's not a ton, and it's not going to last all 6 days, but if we're not actually pumping out of it, which to my knowledge we aren't. I don't think we have any, yeah, we don't have any showers attached to it. And I've been told those don't really consume that much water anyway. The rice should survive, because the rice, reference timber trees again here. At the very top it has a nice chart of all the different things. The rice will last, I believe it says 9 days? Oh no, that's the bad tide. It's without water is 5 days. Pretty sure is what that was. So, it's got little symbols here. I got to make sure I know exactly what those mean before I quote them on a video to you guys. But we should be okay as long as this doesn't go dry in the next little bit. So, thankful to have access to that information off the top of my head. But yeah, this isn't going to chill me because it just says it died. And this isn't going to tell me because it's watered. So, I don't want to test, so I can just look at that. That's very nice. All right, so we got 5,200 water. We've got 4,000 food. We're doing pretty well over here, folks. And we've got a little bit more rice that we can plant, so I will go ahead and do that. It is constantly improving in terms of space to plant other things. We've got other stuff that can be harvested. These guys are working, and they're actually, wow, they're pretty full on storage. So before we're out of here, let's give them a little bit more space. I will just go ahead and pop that right there. I probably should make the giant storages, but I don't want to really mess with that yet. Let's just do green pea storage, and we'll do some rice storage. Set those both to supply, so they can at least do something with this, and that's going to be good. You know what? This actually might be a nice thumbnail right here. So I think that's where we'll leave it, friends. Just go ahead and use this as my thumbnail bit. I'll, of course, take the picture after we're done here, but as always, appreciate you being here, watching these videos, especially so far into the series. The Beard Boosters make it possible by subsidizing this kind of stuff where we do our deep dives in the series and keep things going for a long time because we want to see what the end game's like. Don't want to just jump around between different games every 2 days, because, I don't know, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not the way I want to do the videos here, so I'm thankful that we have the opportunity because of those folks and because of you guys who watch the videos to make it make sense from a business perspective. The business of making YouTube videos is kind of fickle in terms of the algorithm, and the longer series don't tend to do very well. So any support that you guys give is very, very appreciated, whether it's just watching and liking and commenting, whether it's contributing as a booster, or whether it's just being here and giving me your presence. Even if you don't engage, I always appreciate everybody. So all that being said, have a fantastic rest of your day, whatever it is you're doing. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you back again soon for beavers, penguins, and prisoners, and hopefully sometime soon, update 6 on experimental. We don't know when it's coming, but when it comes, rest assured, we're gonna dive into it super deep. So we'll see you then. Have a great day, friends. Bye bye.